Radio Bath.
And it's a very good afternoon to you, and a huge thank you to Tim Angel there. We love having the Angel on the morning show. My name is Robbie Dixon. I am sitting in the hot chair for Cynthia over the next couple of weeks, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I'm also delighted to have in my company today Clare Emberson Pratt, who is the MD of the Emberson Group, and we are going to be talking about menopause, and particularly menopause in the workplace. But Clare has chosen a great track to get our afternoon show or our lunchtime show started today. It is the incredible Earth, Wind and Fire and September. So stay tuned, get yourself comfortable for a really good first hour. It's lovely to be here, and it's absolutely lovely to have your company.
This is Radio Bath.
So that was the remix version of September with Fats and Small Remix, and that was the choice of my guest today. I'm delighted to welcome to Radio Bath Clare Emberson Pratt, who is from the Emberson Group. Good afternoon, Clare.
Good afternoon, Robbie. Thank you very much indeed for having me.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure. And of course, we have got a very big topic of conversation today, haven't we? It was World Menopause Day yesterday. And perhaps, Clare, you could start us off by just giving us a little introduction as to what your company does here in Bath and why this particular topic is of great importance to you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm the MD and co-founder of Emberson Group. We're a fast-growing, creative B2B group of marketing agencies. And yesterday and this week, really, it's a bit of a day for reflection. It's so important to me because I'm one of the 13 million women in the UK that is currently navigating the highs and most definitely sometimes the lows of the menopause. For years, this has been a taboo subject in many sectors, including marketing, and it really, really shouldn't be because it affects so many of us. One of the statistics that really bothered me when I heard about it was that 75% of women in work have menopausal symptoms. That's incredibly high. I didn't expect it to be that. But in actual fact, 1 out of 4 women in the UK have a premature career ending due to the menopause. I really couldn't believe this statistic when I heard it. If 25% of women leave the workplace due to severe menopausal illness, there's no winners in that. And the reason it's so important to me is because 8 years ago when I started to have menopausal symptoms, I really didn't have a clue what was going on. Not a clue. I'd never heard of the word perimenopause, and I really didn't know what to expect. So the purpose of me really wanting to talk a bit more about it is because I want to help the people that are in my team. 60% of Emberson are women, but also in marketing, we don't tend to talk about it. And we really, really should. We're in the game of communications after all.
Yeah. And also, Clare, I think it's so important. You know, you've got this wealth of experience from women, presumably, women who've trained. There's no reason why they should even consider that their career could come to an end. If you think about, particularly in your world of marketing and all of that, and it's a global organisation, isn't it?
Yes.
And if you think of the wealth of experience that you must have within your team,
yes,
and the thought of some women, you know, perhaps considering finishing work early because they just can't cope with the symptoms of menopause or perimenopause. And just to be clear, I had a conversation with a nutritionist on Friday, on my lunchtime show on Friday, and perimenopause is basically where you're still getting periods. Menopause is when basically those periods stop.
Yes.
So that's the sort of clarification on that. And so, as you say, some people sail through this, don't they, Clare? But other people feel that it's an absolute tsunami that's happening in their life. And they must think that, I know that one woman described as she thought she was suffering early onset dementia.
Yeah, I think that was me. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, I'm still going through this phase in my life. I've been going through it for 8 years. You can go on for 15 years or more. What I would say is I'm certainly no expert when it comes to the menopause. All I can do is speak about my experience. Fundamentally, there has been a huge range of symptoms that I've had. I think there's 34 recognised symptoms, Robbie, and I've had 28 of them so far. So, and they range from all sorts of different things. And I think the fundamental point to get across, and part of the reason why it's so important to talk about this, is I went to the doctor thinking it was totally something else. So one of the symptoms is, a rapid heart rate and heart palpitations. Well, I went to the doctor. I was completely checked out from head to toe. They couldn't explain why I was getting this, but the menopause was never mentioned as a possibility. So I was still at a loss. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
But the phase for me, and I've got to say to your guest on Friday, nutrition and exercise has really helped me. But it got to a point for me personally where I did feel as though I had early onset dementia. I couldn't remember things. It was as though I was having an out-of-body experience, to be honest with you, because I could see how I was behaving or what I was thinking, or if I went into an angry rage, but I just didn't recognise that person. And it was at that point I knew, right, I really have to address this because this is no good. It's no good for my beautiful family. It's no good for work. I need to address this. And the message, I think, is that there is help out there, and also you need different things. Or my experiences, I've found I need different things at different times in the menopause cycle.
Yeah.
So and they've all helped me. Absolutely, they've all helped me, but it is most definitely a work in progress.
Yes. And as you say, the other thing I think that's really important to mention, Claire, is that it's different for every woman. This is a very personal journey. Oh. So there isn't one sort of like one size fits all in this scenario, is there? No,
there isn't. And there isn't a silver bullet. That's my experience. There is not a silver bullet that solves this. The symptoms are so vast and affect all parts of your life that actually, it's really important to remember that what you experience may not be what the next person experiences.
Yeah, well, what we're going to do, we've got another Claire choice. She's really helping me today with this one. We've got another Claire choice, and again, this goes out to the team at Emberson. This is the new track from Elton John and Dua Lipa, and it's an absolute cracker. It's Cold Heart. We are loving the new track from Elton John and Dua Lipa. Good afternoon. It's Tuesday lunchtime and it is 12:16. It's Robbie Dixon sitting in for Cynthia this afternoon, and I am delighted to be joined by the very lovely Clare Emberson Pratt, and we are talking all about menopause in the workplace. And one of the things that this has been highlighted because Claire has been going through this whole experience herself and realising actually that there needs to be more awareness and there needs to be more done, so that the workplace can become an easier place for women who are suffering or basically going through this journey, which is a perfectly natural journey, isn't it, Claire?
Absolutely. I think what's really, really interesting for us in Emberson is we all work from home, and we have done since 2010. So before the pandemic, it was all natural to us to be working from home. So there is an element of privacy with that, that you can set up, you can have your comforts around you, you can have a fan or whatever it may be. But actually, I think it goes much, much deeper than that. We are at the beginning of our journey with menopause awareness in Emberson. And one of the things that sort of triggered it was Davina McCall's TV programme, her phenomenal TV programme, and I knew it was coming up, and I thought I've got to let everybody know this is on and how important it is to listen to this. So I did, and I shared with everyone that, I'd been going through the menopause for about 8 years. And different people started talking to me about it, and I knew that it was important, but also, the women in our organisation are younger than me, so they're yet to go through it, or they may be just starting some of their symptoms. So it's really important to be forewarned and forearmed. So one of the things I read recently was Meg Matthews' book, The New Hot. I don't know whether or not you
I've come across it, Claire. Yes, definitely. Yes, yeah.
It's a very candid book, very, very candid book, very blunt, to the point. She talks about her own experience, but she then hands over to an expert on each of the different topics, and I think it's a really good reference book. Anyway, I sent one of these, a copy, to everybody in the team, men and women, and this sort of leads me on to, this isn't just a women's thing, a woman's thing. It's a people thing.
Yeah.
It's massive. 13 million people, as we said at the beginning, are going through the menopause, but they are sisters and wives and colleagues of men. So men are experiencing this too, and it's really, really important that there is more awareness about it, because there's also help out there, but also, why on earth would we want these brilliant women to be leaving their careers early? Because that shakes up team dynamics. The individuals who leave their career early, from a financial point of view, that's terrible. From an identity point of view, from all sorts of different personal views, that's horrendous. But from an economic and from an employer point of view, it doesn't work either. There's really no winners in this. So if we can prevent people leaving, or getting to the point where they think, oh my goodness, I've got to leave work, I cannot possibly cope anymore with it, it's got to be a good thing. So more and more people talking about it is great, and there's some great places to go for more information.
Yeah, and actually, Claire, on your point about the Davina McCall programme, which I believe was on Channel 4, and for those of you who've got access to iPlayer, you can certainly access that again. My husband was more than willing to watch it with me, and I felt that it was absolutely brilliant. It was blunt. It was to the point. There were no, it wasn't sugar-coated, shall we say.
No.
But even my husband said that was an education. And if you've got a chance, I think it's about an hour-long programme or something like that. It is so worth sitting down for an hour with a very large mug of coffee or cup of tea, or even a glass of wine, and watching the Davina McCall.
Absolutely.
And, we've touched on, men for a moment, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about that later, Claire. But, men too are affected by a menopause, either on the receiving end, but their hormones, as they get older, change as well.
Yes, absolutely, as I understand it, but at a slower rate, as far as I understand. I'm not medically trained whatsoever, but yes, I think men are hugely affected by this, and interestingly, by sending a book to every member of the team, 3 male members of the team said, "Oh, can I have a chat?" Mm-hmm. And I said, "Yes. Can I ask you anything about it?" And I've said yes, absolutely, because they want to support their partners. Yeah. And they can see that things may be starting to change. So, I think it's a really important thing to get men involved too.
Yeah, and as I say, that's incredibly proactive of you as a person and also as an employer, Claire, to actually, send the book out, send the WhatsApp message round on your group to say you must watch this programme. And equally, I think I said to you off air, Claire, that I'd gone to a Meg Matthews presentation, which happened to be here in Bath a couple of years ago, and she told her story about menopause, and it was really enlightening. And you just think, oh my goodness, that's happening to me. Oh yes, I know that symptom. I recognise that. So it's just reassuring to know that you're not alone.
Yes, absolutely. And I think when you get to the stage in your life when you are starting to go through symptoms, certainly my font of knowledge was my dear close friends. You know, it most definitely was. I was learning, because they were slightly ahead of me in terms of their menopausal symptoms, what may be coming down the track. So certainly talking within your own networks, but I think employers have got a responsibility really to help their employees through this phase. I really do, because it's massive. It's all encompassing, and you know, it can affect the way you feel, the way you think, the way you behave. It's can be at times quite debilitating.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have a word from our sponsors here on Radio Bath, and then we're going to hear the new track from Adele, which was released on Friday of last week, Friday of the 15th, and then we'll carry on our conversation, Claire, after the track, and how can employers do, what should they be doing, and how can they make life better? So stay tuned here on Radio Bath. It's lovely to have your company on this Tuesday lunchtime.
Radio Bath, made in Bath.
The incredible voice of Adele and Easy on Me here on Radio Bath on this Tuesday lunchtime. And I'm delighted to be joined by Clare Emberson Pratt from the Emberson Group. If you have just tuned in, we're talking about menopause in the workplace and how employers can make it better. And just as an aside, Clare and I have decided that we are really and truly big Adele fans. And if we could, we'd be there, Adele. So as soon as you get back on tour, we're coming to get you. We're coming after you. So Clare, yes, as an employer, by the way, just how many employees do you have?
We've currently got 15.
Right. And they're all working from home and have been since 2010.
Yes, absolutely. You know, marketing the sector that we're in, it's a thriving, phenomenal sector to be in. I feel very privileged actually to be part of it. But it's interesting that in our sector, the majority of people that work in that sector are women.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's strange that nobody is talking about it or hasn't talked about it yet. And it's, I think, very, very important that we do, because there's an element of shame. And certainly, you know, speaking from my experience, when I started going through the symptoms, I thought, I can deal with this. Mm-hmm. No problem. This is absolutely fine. Okay, there's some ups and downs, but I can deal with this. I'm managing it with, you know, nutrition, supplements, natural supplements, and exercise. But actually, you know, it became clear that no, I couldn't do it by myself. I needed support, and some of the symptoms that I were experiencing, I thought were related to other things. They weren't actually related to the menopause, but it appears that actually they are related to the menopause, and so certainly I think it's important for employers to create as much as they can an environment of trust. That's really, really important, where women don't feel that they are going to be negatively treated because they are being open and honest about the menopause, that actually they're going to get help and some support. That's really, really important. So my suggestion, or the areas that I would suggest or recommend that we would recommend as a business, certainly looking at henpicked.net. If you're an employer or an HR professional, certainly check out their website. It's absolutely fantastic. The brilliant Deborah Garlick and her team run webinars and training to help organisations become more menopause friendly, and I think that's the key. Just normalising it, you know, having conversations, talking about it in one-to-ones, or you know, having visual references if you have a workplace, or if you're at home, you know, on the intranet, places that you can go for information and to be able to just talk about it. You know, how are things for you? Are you going through the menopause? Yeah, I am. You know, and just it shouldn't be shrouded in secrecy, and that, I think, is an important step.
And I think one of the things that, while we've been talking, Claire, one of the things that just, comes into my head is, of course, as teenagers, when women are, just starting out on adolescence, there's mountains of information.
Yes,
and young girls are obviously given that information at school. It's talked about, and they're equally given very clear information from mothers, from older sisters, from cousins or whomever, but actually for a long time menopause has been pushed under the carpet, hasn't it?
Yes, it has, absolutely. And I think it's very much about, well, we can cope with this, and it's not a problem. But 10 years ago, as I say, I'm a reasonably informed woman, but I knew nothing about the menopause or what was going to come, and that was just through a lack of people talking about it. It was brushed under the carpet, as you absolutely say. It's nothing to be embarrassed about.
No,
some of the symptoms, yes, can be challenging, but it's nothing to be embarrassed about. I'd rather that than have the alternative. I really think that it's important for us to be able to encourage women to talk about it more and more, and what they're doing. Some of the celebrities, talking about it. The menopause doctor, for example.
Oh, Dr. Louise Newson.
Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal what that organisation is doing. For individuals, businesses, I'd recommend following her work. She is the founder of the Balance app as well. I believe she's just rebranded her website to called Balance. A phenomenal amount of information, and it is coming. There is most definitely a swell of information that's coming, and an awareness about it's okay to talk about this, and men are beginning to talk about it a bit more too, or asking questions, and I think that's really, really encouraging.
And as you have highlighted already, Claire, that this must not be seen as a weakness. It's a perfectly normal journey, perfectly normal, natural journey. So don't make it a word that cannot be used. And it's all about openness and trust. With your 15 people, then, Claire, do you, I know you're all working from home anyway, but do you all sort of set aside a time to have a little coffee morning or something like that?
Yeah, certainly it's been challenging through the pandemic. It's been difficult, but we try to have one-to-ones, which are face to face, that we do meet up, even go for a dog walk or whatever it may be, and we do have sessions when we get together, which is phenomenally important. I think talking about one of the things that I wanted to also make clear is that some of the symptoms that I went through, and I want to say this because of my team, they're about to go through some of these things. I honestly didn't think it had anything to do with the menopause, and I thought there was something else that was going on, and it may sound ridiculous now, but that is genuinely the truth. There were all sorts of different things, different symptoms that I was having, and when I realised actually this could be the menopause, because I was doing my own research, I realised that I needed to get some other form of medication from the GP, and an HRT. It took me 3 attempts to get HRT, and I'm hoping that shouldn't be the case if people need it in the future. That people are more and more aware, doctors and GPs are more aware.
Yeah.
That's a really important thing, but keep pushing if that's what you feel you need.
Yeah, and actually if you follow Dr. Louise Newson, that's one of the things. I watched a YouTube video of hers last week, Claire, and that is one of the things that she absolutely says that just one HRT might not be the one for you.
Absolutely.
As we mentioned earlier, when we started talking about all of this, every female, every woman is different. Her journey is different, and therefore she's going to react to the treatments differently. So one HRT thing might not be the one, and you just got to keep plugging away until you find the right one.
And it might be okay for a while, this particular type of HRT that you've got, but it might not be in the future. I'm going through a particular experience of that myself at the moment, so I'm transitioning from one to another. We'll see how that goes. I mean, it is a complete work in progress, a bit like me, really. But it is. This is a journey of it's a work in progress, most definitely.
Yeah. We're going to go back to the music. We have got another wonderful diva, Jennifer Lopez, Ain't It Funny? So stay tuned. We're talking to Clare Emberson Pratt and we're talking menopause.
This is Radio Bath.
And that, of course, the wonderful Jennifer Lopez, Ain't It Funny? I am with Clare Emberson Pratt. We are talking menopause, and particularly menopause in the workplace. And as we've been saying, Clare, there are lots of things that employers can do. There's a fabulous website called henpicked.net. That's henpicked.net by the brilliant Deborah Garlick. And also follow Dr. Louise Newson, the menopause doctor. She is just full of information and really helpful information. And we don't want to make this all doom and gloom, do we, Clare?
We don't indeed. I think it's a really important topic, though, and more and more women are entering the workforce, sometimes for the first time, in the age range between 50 and 64. Apparently, the age range of between 50 and 64 is the fastest growing demographic in the UK workforce. And over the last 30 years, it's grown by 112%. And that's fantastic. That's wonderful news. There's no two ways about it. At times, I've found the menopause incredibly tough, unbelievably tough. But other times I've found it quite liberating. And, how can it be liberating? Well, I think it's because the menopause has forced me to spend a bit of time on me. And what do I mean by that? Well, I realise that for my mental health and helping me through the menopause, exercise is incredibly important. So in my diary, in my work diary that I share with the rest of the team, everybody can see when I'm not available for meetings, I'm going for a run. So they can see that. But also, slowing things down just a little bit, just being a bit kinder to yourself, I think is very, very important. So that's what I would say. Thanks to the menopause, I'm not going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I'm still incredibly busy, but it is forcing me to spend a bit of time on me. And so, I've got to be grateful for that.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, Clare, when I talked to Alexis Pryor on Friday, we were talking about nutrition. That's another valuable sort of plan of attack. So it's about getting really good proteins. It's also about your carbohydrate, but not high in sugars. Yep. It's about the slow burn carbohydrate, and all those things make a difference. And, as you say, the focus can be, well, you have to make the focus on yourself to make you a better person. Therefore, the people around you will suffer less.
Yes, and you can do what you do as a mum, as a partner, if you have a career, you can carry on. It's just finding that balance, and it ebbs and flows. Most definitely. Certainly, that's what I've found.
Yeah. It's definitely the roller coaster, and they're probably, but I do think that the fact that we're all talking about it, it's no longer being brushed under the carpet and swept into a broom cupboard. People have got a greater understanding, and I didn't actually ask you, Clare. I mean, I've got a daughter and I've got 2 stepdaughters, and I certainly want to be able to explain to them, when they get to that point, oh, I know what's happening to you. This is what's going on. I want to be able to have that conversation with them.
Yes, it's interesting actually. So I'd left home by the time my mum was going through it, so I didn't witness it. So she had me in her early 20s, but I had my daughter in my early 30s.
Yep.
She's still at home, so she's seeing it, and which gives me the opportunity to be able to talk about it really openly. So and most definitely I want her to be forewarned, and because then she's forearmed, isn't she, you know, and to have more knowledge about what to expect and what could be coming down the track. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. She's witnessed it, so it doesn't matter, not even if I haven't told her about it, which I have. We've talked about it a lot. She's witnessed it for herself, you know, and knows that I'm acknowledging it as the menopause and you know, how that has affected us as a family, me as a person, all of those different dynamics. So it's interesting. I think as women have children that are later on in life, that they may still be with us when we start going through the menopause. You know, I started quite early at the age of sort of 42, so, you know.
Yeah. So, Claire, if there's one lasting message that you want to get out there to all employers,
yes,
what is that message going to be today?
I think to be more menopausal friendly or menopause friendly, it's most definitely about communicating and trying to start a culture of trust where people feel they can talk and ask questions, and you can do that in the quickest way by providing information. That's the most important thing that I think employers should be doing.
Yeah, so knowledge is key.
It is indeed.
Yeah. Claire, it's been an absolute joy to have you with us here on Radio Bath
Robbie.
On this Tuesday lunchtime. We are going to hear a word from our sponsors here on Radio Bath, and then we're going to hear the new track from Coldplay, another absolute favourite of mine. Claire, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much indeed, Robbie.